Zagzylorp slithered into the classroom, his gelatinous form quivering with excitement. It was the first day of the Galactic University's most coveted course, Understanding Deathworlders, a comprehensive study of Class 12 species. As he oozed into his seat, he couldn't help but notice the diverse array of alien life forms surrounding him. There were gaseous beings from low-gravity worlds, crystalline entities from frozen moons, and even a sentient plant that communicated through pheromones. "Settle down," class chirped Professor Klik-Klak, her mandibles clicking rhythmically. "Today we have a special treat. We'll be studying the most infamous Deathworlders of all humans." A collective gasp rippled through the room, followed by nervous laughter and what sounded suspiciously like someone's exoskeleton cracking from sheer terror. Now Klik-Klak continued, her antennae twitching with amusement. "I assure you no humans will be harmed in the making of this lecture. Though I can't say the same for your preconceptions about the galaxy." The class tittered nervously, a mixture of clicks, whistles, and bubbling sounds filling the air. Zagzylorp's cytoplasm churned with anticipation. "Let's start with a simple question," the professor said, her compound eyes scanning the room. "Who can tell me what humans do for fun?" A tentacle shot up from the back of the class. It belonged to Gloop, a Jovian gas bag known for his, shall we say, inflated sense of knowledge. Oh. I know this one, Gloop wheezed excitedly. "They engage in ritualistic self-harm by ingesting toxic substances and then gyrate wildly to rhythmic noise patterns." Professor Klik-Klak's mandibles twitched in what might have been a smile. "While not entirely inaccurate, Mr. Gloop, I'm afraid your answer is a bit." Deflating, the class groaned at the pun, but the professor continued undeterred. "Anyone else?" Zagzylorp gathered his courage and raised a pseudopod. "I've heard they sometimes chase each other with projectile weapons for entertainment." The professor's eyes glimmered. "Ah, now we're getting somewhere. Can you elaborate, Zagzylorp?" Feeling emboldened, Zagzylorp continued, "Well, I watched this human entertainment vid called Paintball Extreme Deathworld Edition. It showed humans running around, shooting colored projectiles at each other, and laughing about it afterward. It seemed terrifying." "Excellent observation," Klik-Klak exclaimed. "What you've described is indeed a human recreational activity. But here's where it gets interesting, and by interesting I mean absolutely bonkers by any sane species standards." The professor activated the holoprojector, and a 3D image of a human military training ground materialized in the center of the classroom. The alien students leaned in, fascinated and horrified in equal measure. "You see," class Klik-Klak continued, her voice taking on a tone of bemused disbelief, "humans don't just use harmless colored projectiles for fun. Oh no, that would be far too tame for these walking adrenaline factories. In their military training they use live ammunition." The class erupted into chaos. Gloop deflated so rapidly he nearly disappeared, the crystalline being started to crack, and the sentient plant released a cloud of distress pheromones that made half the class feel like they were at a rave on Betelgeuse 5. "Silence," Klik-Klak shouted, her mandibles clacking like castanets. "I know it's shocking, but please contain your existential crises until after the lecture." Zagzylorp, his curiosity overcoming his fear, raised a pseudopod again. "But why? Why would they risk injury or death during training?" The professor's compound eyes twinkled with what might have been admiration. "An excellent question, Zagzylorp. The humans claim it improves their focus." Focus, squeak, pip, squeak, a diminutive silicon-based life form. How does the constant threat of death improve focus? That's like saying setting yourself on fire improves your appreciation for water. The class erupted in nervous laughter, a cacophony of alien sounds that would have sent any human running for the hills or, more likely, reaching for a weapon. "Ah, but that's where you're wrong," Pipsqueak Klik-Klak said, her voice filled with a mixture of awe and horror. "For humans, the threat of death doesn't paralyze them, it energizes them. They have this saying, you don't rise to the occasion, you sink to the level of your training, and apparently their idea of rising to the occasion involves turning potential death into a learning experience." The holoprojector flickered, and a new image appeared, a group of human soldiers running through an obstacle course while live rounds whizzed past their heads. The alien students watched in stunned silence as the humans dove, rolled, and returned fire, all while shouting encouragement in some rather colorful language to each other. "Great galaxy," exclaimed Zagzylorp, his gelatinous form rippling with shock. Are they laughing?" Indeed, the humans in the projection were grinning, their faces splattered with mud and what looked suspiciously like blood. One soldier helped another up after a particularly spectacular dive, and they shared a hearty laugh before resuming their mad dash through the bullet-ridden course. Correct, Zagzylorp, the professor confirmed. Humans have this peculiar ability to find humor in the most dire situations. It's a coping mechanism, they say, though I suspect it's more a sign of their inherent insanity. Gloop, who had finally re-inflated himself, floated nervously near the ceiling. But how do they survive? Surely their mortality rate must be astronomical. Professor Klik-Klak's mandibles clicked in what might have been a chuckle. You'd think so, wouldn't you? But here's the kicker: their training fatality rates are surprisingly low. It seems the constant threat of death makes them hyper-aware of their surroundings. They develop reflexes that would make a Centaurian speed demon jealous. The class collectively shuddered at the thought. Centaurian speed demons were notorious for their lightning-fast reflexes and their tendency to accidentally dismember slower species during handshakes. Now the professor continued, her voice taking on a more serious tone. I want you all to understand something fundamental about humans. This training, as insane as it may seem to us, is not just about improving their combat skills. It's a reflection of their entire worldview. The holoprojector shifted again, this time showing a montage of human activities from extreme sports to scientific expeditions in hostile environments. Humans. Klik-Klak explained, her voice filled with a mixture of admiration and exasperation, view their entire existence as a constant battle against death. Their homeworld Earth is a Class 12 Deathworld, a planet so hostile that by all rights, sapient life should never have evolved there. But humans didn't just evolve, they thrived. Zagzylorp's cytoplasm churned with a mixture of fear and fascination. But Professor, how does this relate to their use of live ammunition in training? Ah, now we're getting to the heart of the matter, Klik-Klak exclaimed, her antennae quivering with excitement. You see, humans don't just accept the dangers of their world, they embrace them. They see every challenge, every threat, as an opportunity to grow stronger. The professor paused, letting her words sink in. The classroom was silent, save for the occasional nervous bubbling from Gloop. Their use of live ammunition in training, she continued, is just an extension of this philosophy. They believe that by constantly pushing themselves to the edge of death, they become more alive. It's a concept they call embracing the suck, finding joy and purpose in the most miserable and dangerous situations. Pipsqueak, who had been uncharacteristically quiet, suddenly spoke up. But that's insane. How can any species survive with that kind of mindset? Professor Klik-Klak's compound eyes seemed to twinkle with mischief. Insane, perhaps. But let me ask you this, how many Class 12 species have not only survived but become a dominant force in the galaxy? The class fell silent as the implications sank in. Humans, these crazy Deathworlders who treated mortal peril as a learning experience, had indeed become one of the most influential species in galactic politics and trade. Now the professor said, her tone becoming more upbeat. Let's delve into some specific examples of how this live ammunition mentality manifests in other areas of human life. Who wants to guess how humans approach space exploration? Zagzylorp, feeling brave, raised a pseudopod. Do they purposely send their ships into dangerous areas of space? Give the gelatinous wonder a prize, Klik-Klak exclaimed. Humans have a saying, space is hard. This is their way of acknowledging that venturing into the cosmos is inherently dangerous. But instead of cowering in fear, they strap themselves to massive explosives and blast off into the unknown with grins on their faces. The holoprojector displayed images of human space missions, astronauts floating in the void, repairing satellites with nothing but a thin suit protecting them from the vacuum of space. But that's suicide, Gloop wheezed, his gaseous form swirling in distress. Au contraire, my inflatable friend, the professor retorted. Humans view it as the ultimate adventure. They have entire organizations dedicated to pushing the boundaries of space exploration. NASA, SpaceX, Blue Origin, these are like amusement parks for humans who find Earth's gravity too boring. The class watched in awe as the holoprojector showed humans gleefully floating in zero gravity, conducting experiments that could potentially blow up in their faces at any moment. And it's not just space, Klik-Klak continued, her voice filled with a mixture of admiration and disbelief. Humans apply this live ammunition philosophy to nearly every aspect of their lives. Take their approach to medical research, for instance. The projection shifted to show human scientists working in high-security labs handling deadly pathogens with the casualness of a Betelgeusean barista making a cosmic latte. While most species would run screaming from a deadly virus, humans actively seek them out, the professor explained. They cultivate the most dangerous organisms in the galaxy, all in the name of finding cures and advancing their medical knowledge. It's like they're playing a galactic game of catch with the Grim Reaper himself. Pip Squeak, his silicon-based form vibrating with a mixture of fear and excitement, chimed in. But Professor, surely there must be limits to this madness. Even humans can't be reckless all the time, right? Klik-Klak's mandibles clicked in what might have been a smirk. Oh, you sweet summer child. Let me introduce you to the concept of human extreme sports. The holoprojector flickered once more, this time displaying a montage of humans engaging in activities that made even the hardiest alien student question their sanity. Humans were shown jumping out of perfectly functional aircraft, scaling sheer cliff faces with nothing but their bare hands, and surfing on waves taller than some alien species' home planets. By the great void, Xylorp gasped, his gelatinous form quivering in disbelief. Are they enjoying this? Enjoying it, Klik-Klak laughed. They live for it. Humans have this peculiar notion that the closer they come to death, the more alive they feel. It's like they're constantly daring the universe to do its worst, and then laughing in its face when they survive. Gloop, who had been trying to make himself as small as possible, no mean feat for a gaseous being, finally found his voice. But why? What could possibly drive them to such extremes? The professor's compound eyes seemed to soften. Ah, now we're getting to the heart of what makes humans truly fascinating. You see, it's not just about the thrill or the danger. It's about pushing boundaries, about discovering what they're truly capable of. The holoprojector shifted again, this time showing humans in various states of celebration, athletes crossing finish lines, scientists making breakthrough discoveries, astronauts setting foot on new worlds. Humans have this unshakable belief that they can always go further, do better, be more. Klik-Klak explained, her voice filled with a mixture of awe and exasperation. It's what drives them to train with live ammunition, to venture into the deadliest corners of the galaxy, to challenge death itself at every turn. They don't just want to survive, they want to thrive in the face of adversity. Xylorp, his curiosity overcoming his fear, raised a pseudopod. But Professor, doesn't this philosophy lead to, well, a lot of dead humans? The class tittered nervously, but Klik-Klak nodded approvingly. An excellent question, Xylorp. And you'd think so, wouldn't you? But here's the truly mind-boggling part, it doesn't. At least not nearly as often as you'd expect. The holoprojector displayed a series of graphs and statistics. Humans have an uncanny ability to push right up to the edge of disaster and then pull back at the last second. Their reflexes, honed by millions of years of evolution on a death world and further sharpened by their insane training methods, allow them to navigate dangers that would obliterate most other species. Pip Squeak, his silicon-based form practically vibrating with excitement, chimed in. So you're saying that by constantly exposing themselves to danger, humans have actually become safer? In a twisted, paradoxical way that only humans could come up with, yes, Klik-Klak confirmed. It's like they've weaponized Darwin's theory of evolution, turning their entire species into an ever-adapting, danger-seeking missile of progress. The class fell silent, trying to wrap their various alien minds around this concept. It was Gloop who finally broke the silence, his gaseous form swirling thoughtfully. But Professor, he wheezed, if humans are so adept at surviving danger, why do they seem so fragile? I mean, they don't have exoskeletons or acidic blood, or even basic psychic defenses. Klik-Klak's mandibles clicked in what might have been a chuckle. Ah, Gloop, that's where you're wrong. Humans don't need those things because they've developed something far more terrifying: adaptability. The holoprojector flickered once more, showing humans in various environments, from the depths of the ocean to the peaks of mountains, from scorching deserts to frozen tundras. You see, class. The professor continued, her voice filled with a mixture of admiration and fear. Humans don't just survive in these environments, they conquer them. They build cities in deserts, they create underwater habitats. They establish bases in the most inhospitable corners of their world. And when their planet isn't challenging enough, they set their sights on the stars. Xylorp's gelatinous form rippled with a sudden realization. Is that why they're so successful in galactic politics and trade? Because they're always prepared for the worst. Give the blob a gold star, Klik-Klak exclaimed. Humans approach galactic diplomacy the same way they approach their training exercises, always ready for live ammunition. They plan for every contingency, expect the unexpected, and somehow manage to come out on top more often than not. The holoprojector showed scenes from various galactic council meetings, with humans often at the center, their faces set in expressions of determined focus that most alien species mistook for constipation. But here's the truly terrifying part, the professor said, her voice dropping to a near whisper. Humans don't just prepare for the worst, they actively seek it out. They have this saying, no pain, no gain. They believe that growth only comes through struggle. The class collectively shuddered, a ripple of fear passing through the diverse array of alien life forms. Zizilorp's cytoplasm churned with a mixture of horror and fascination. Are you saying, Zizilorp ventured, his voice quivering like his gelatinous form, that humans intentionally make things harder for themselves, even when they don't have to? Professor Klik-Klak's compound eyes seemed to twinkle with amusement. Oh, my dear Zygilorp, you have no idea. Humans have elevated unnecessary difficulty to an art form. They call it challenge and treat it like some sort of cosmic game. The holoprojector flickered to life once more, displaying a montage of humans engaging in various seemingly pointless activities, running marathons, climbing mountains, solving complex puzzles, and participating in eating contests that made even the most iron-stomached alien students feel queasy. Great Galactic Core Gloop exclaimed, his gaseous form swirling in disbelief. Are they eating those incendiary flora for fun? Ah, you've noticed the human affinity for spicy food, Klik-Klak said, her mandibles clicking in what might have been a chuckle. Yes, humans have this peculiar habit of consuming plants that have evolved to actively discourage consumption. They claim it adds flavor to their meals. Personally, I think it's just another example of their Deathworld madness. Pipsqueak, the diminutive silicon-based life form, raised a crystalline appendage. But Professor, surely this constant seeking of challenge and danger must have negative consequences? It seems unsustainable. The professor's antennae twitched thoughtfully. One would think so, wouldn't they? But here's where humans truly baffle xenobiologists across the galaxy. Their constant exposure to stress and danger doesn't break them, it makes them stronger. The holoprojector shifted to display complex diagrams of human physiology and psychology. The alien students leaned in, their various sensory organs straining to make sense of the information. You see, Klik-Klak continued, her voice taking on a tone of grudging admiration. Humans have this remarkable ability to adapt to stress. Their bodies and minds actually become more resilient when exposed to challenging conditions. They call it stress inoculation, as if stress were some sort of disease they can vaccinate against. Zygilorp's gelatinous form rippled with a sudden realization. Is that why they use live ammunition in training? 2. Inoculate themselves against the stress of real combat. Give the blob a prize, Klik-Klak exclaimed. That's exactly it. Humans believe that by exposing themselves to controlled danger, they'll be better prepared for uncontrolled danger. It's like they're playing a galactic game of what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and somehow, against all odds, they're winning. The class fell into a contemplative silence, each student trying to wrap their alien minds around this concept. It was Gloop who finally broke the silence, his gaseous form swirling thoughtfully. But Professor, he wheezed, if humans are so adept at handling stress and danger, why do they seem so emotional? I've heard stories of humans forming deep attachments to non-sentient creatures, or shedding ocular lubricant over abstract concepts like beauty and love. Klik-Klak's compound eyes seemed to soften. Ah, Gloop, you've touched upon one of the great paradoxes of human nature. You see, the same capacity for stress and danger that makes humans such formidable survivors also makes them capable of profound emotional experiences. The holoprojector flickered once more, this time displaying scenes of human emotional expression: joy, sorrow, anger, love, all played out with an intensity that made the alien students feel both fascinated and uncomfortable. Humans, the professor continued, her voice filled with a mixture of awe and bewilderment, don't just survive their death world. They don't just conquer it. They fall in love with it. They find beauty in the very things that should, by all rights, terrify them. The projection showed humans watching sunsets over volatile oceans, skiing down treacherous mountain slopes, and even purposely jumping out of perfectly functional aircraft for something they called the rush. But that's insane, Pipsqueak exclaimed, his crystalline structure vibrating with disbelief. How can they love something that's constantly trying to kill them? Klik-Klak's mandibles clicked in what might have been a smile. That, my dear students, is the true mystery of humanity. They don't just face danger, they romance it. They write poetry about storms that could tear them apart. They compose music inspired by the very predators that hunted their ancestors. They create art celebrating the brutal beauty of their death world. Zagzylorp, his curiosity overcoming his fear, raised a pseudopod. Professor, are you saying that humans' ability to find joy in danger is an evolutionary advantage? By the great void, Zylorp, I think you're onto something, Klik-Klak exclaimed, her antennae quivering with excitement. It's not just an advantage, it might be the key to their entire survival strategy. Humans don't just endure their harsh environment, they draw strength from it. They find motivation in challenge, purpose in struggle, and yes, even joy in danger. The holo-projector displayed a series of human achievements, towering cities rising from hostile terrain, spacecraft venturing into the unknown depths of space, medical breakthroughs that seemed to defy the very laws of nature. This, Klik-Klak said, her voice filled with a mixture of admiration and trepidation, is why humans are both the most terrifying and the most fascinating species in the known galaxy. They don't just survive against the odds, they thrive on them. They actively seek out new challenges, new dangers, new frontiers to conquer. The class sat in stunned silence, each student trying to process the implications of what they'd learned. It was Gloop who finally spoke, his gaseous form swirling with a mixture of fear and awe. Professor, he wheezed, are you saying that the galaxy isn't challenging enough for humans? That they might get bored? Klik-Klak's compound eyes seemed to darken. Now you're asking the real questions, Gloop. The truth is, we don't know. Humans have already revolutionized galactic society in the short time since they've joined the interstellar community. They've pushed boundaries we didn't even know existed. And yes, there's a very real possibility that they might find the current state of the galaxy unchallenging. The holo-projector flickered one last time, showing a vast starfield with countless unexplored systems twinkling in the darkness. This, the professor said, her voice filled with a mixture of excitement and trepidation, is what keeps xenopoliticians up at night. What will humans do when they run out of obvious challenges? Will they create new ones? And if they do, what will that mean for the rest of us? Zylorp's gelatinous form quivered with a sudden realization. Is that why we're studying humans? To prepare ourselves? Klik-Klak's mandibles clicked in what might have been a grim smile. Precisely, Zylorp. We study humans not just out of scientific curiosity, but out of a very real need to understand our new galactic neighbors. Because make no mistake, humans are changing the galaxy, one insane, death-defying feat at a time. The professor paused, letting her words sink in. The classroom was filled with a tense silence, broken only by the occasional nervous bubbling from Gloop. But here's the truly remarkable thing, Klik-Klak continued, her voice softening. Despite all their Deathworld madness, despite their seemingly suicidal tendencies, humans have shown an incredible capacity for cooperation and empathy. They may train with live ammunition, but they're just as likely to risk their lives saving a member of another species as they are one of their own. The holoprojector displayed scenes of human diplomats working tirelessly to forge alliances, human scientists collaborating with alien researchers to solve galactic problems, and even human tourists eagerly learning about other cultures. In fact, the professor said, a note of hope in her voice, humans' unique perspective might be exactly what the galaxy needs. Their ability to find opportunity in adversity, to push boundaries we never even knew existed, it could lead us all to a future brighter than we ever imagined. Zylorp, his fear giving way to a budding sense of excitement, raised a pseudopod. So, Professor, what you're saying is, we should embrace the human approach. Start training with live ammunition ourselves. The class erupted in nervous laughter, a cacophony of alien sounds that would have made any human grin with delight. Klik-Klak's compound eyes twinkled with amusement. Perhaps not quite so literally, Zylorp. But yes, there's much we can learn from humans. Their resilience, their adaptability, their seemingly paradoxical blend of recklessness and calculated risk, these are traits that could benefit us all. The professor's voice took on a more serious tone. However, we must also be cautious. Humans' Deathworld nature makes them incredibly resilient, but it also makes them potentially dangerous. We must strive to understand them, to work with them, but also to be prepared for the changes they will inevitably bring to our galactic society. As if on cue, the classroom door burst open, and a human exchange student sauntered in, grinning from ear to ear. "Sorry I'm late, Prof," the human exclaimed, seemingly oblivious to the way every alien student instinctively recoiled. "Got held up at the campus anti-grav gym. You wouldn't believe how hard it is to bench press in variable gravity. Professor Klik-Klak's mandibles clicked in what might have been a sigh. Class, allow me to introduce Dave, our human exchange student. Dave, we were just discussing human training methods. Perhaps you'd like to share your perspective. Dave's grin widened, if that was even possible. Oh man, where do I start? Hey, you guys ever heard of parkour? It's this awesome sport where we treat the whole city like one big obstacle course. Buildings, rooftops, moving vehicles, it's all fair game. The class watched in horrified fascination as Dave launched into an enthusiastic explanation of yet another insane human pastime, complete with wild gesticulations that made several of the more delicate alien students flinch. As Dave regaled the class with tales of his latest death-defying adventures, Professor Klik-Klak's compound eyes met Zygzylorp's gelatinous form. They shared a moment of silent understanding the galaxy would never be the same now that humans had joined the interstellar community. And despite the challenges, despite the dangers, despite the sheer, mind-boggling insanity of it all, somehow that didn't seem like such a bad thing. After all, if there's one thing humans had taught the galaxy, it's that sometimes the most beautiful flowers bloom in the harshest environments. And who knows, maybe with a little human-inspired courage, the rest of the galaxy might just learn to dance on the edge of danger too. Just. Maybe not with live ammunition. Baby steps, after all.